All right, let's jump right into this explainer because today we are completely dismantling a lifelong lie. You've probably heard it since you were a kid, right? If you just try harder, if you push a little more, if you just want it badly enough, boom, you'll be disciplined. But let's be totally honest about what that actually feels like. It is absolutely exhausting. You spend literally all your energy just white-knuckling your way through the day, only to end up right back at square one feeling like a total failure. Well, we're going to look at exactly why that brute force approach isn't just wrong, it's actually the exact reason most people stay permanently stuck in this endless cycle of frustration.
So discipline is not willpower. We're going to start by tossing out that broken paradigm that says success is just about pushing harder. Here's the reality. If your life requires constant motivation just to function, your daily architecture is already broken. Real discipline doesn't come from pushing yourself harder. It comes from removing the need to push in the first place. In psychology, they call this ego depletion, which is really just a fancy way of saying your willpower is a finite daily resource. Every single time you've forced yourself to make a tough choice, you drain that battery. It's not about getting stronger emotionally, it's about getting smarter structurally to prevent decision fatigue. Because discipline isn't willpower. Discipline is design.
Think about how a normal day unfolds. We have this motivation cycle, morning, afternoon, and night. Motivation naturally spikes in the morning, right? You're well-rested, highly caffeinated, and honestly, you feel invincible. But notice how it inevitably fades by the afternoon as the day's friction just kind of wears you down. And by nightfall, it's completely gone and you're just looking for an escape. If your success depends on this biological roller coaster, you're building your house on sand. It's an inherently unstable foundation that was never meant to hold up. And that's exactly why we fail. Not because we're weak, but because we're relying on a feeling that is biologically guaranteed to collapse every single day.
Now imagine two totally different approaches to the exact same morning. On one side, we have someone who wakes up and immediately starts negotiating with their feelings. Do I feel like working out today? Maybe I'm too tired. It's a mental tug of war before they even get out of bed. Now contrast that with the other side, someone who wakes up and steps directly into a predetermined plan. The workout clothes were already laid out the night before, there is zero negotiation, they execute regardless of how they feel. The outcome here is entirely predictable. The first person is fighting a draining mental battle they never needed to fight, while the second person is just seamlessly following the default path.
There's a brilliant quote that hits the nail on the head here. You don't rise to your intentions, you fall to your systems. When you miss your goals, it's really not because you're fundamentally lazy, it's because your environment is perfectly designed to make the wrong behavior easier than the right one. You might have the absolute best intentions to read a book after work, but let's say you walk into the living room, the TV remote is sitting right there on the couch cushion, and your book is tucked away on some shelf in another room. What do you think is going to happen? Human nature dictates that you will always choose the path of least resistance. Good intentions are going to lose to a bad environment every single time.
So let's look at your life right now. Ask yourself a few things. Is distraction one click away? Is comfort always sitting right next to you, whispering your name the exact second things get difficult? Is the absolute easiest path pulling you in the wrong direction? Most of us try to radically change our behavior without ever changing the physical and digital spaces that actually trigger that behavior in the first place. We keep the junk food right there in the pantry and then wonder why we keep eating it. That is precisely why nothing sticks.
Let's break down visible triggers versus inevitable responses. Behavior isn't random. It's a direct, inevitable response to friction, ease, and whatever is immediately available to you. Think about tech companies. They spend billions removing friction from their apps so you keep scrolling, right? Well, if you want to build good habits, you have to do the exact same thing for your real life. If junk food is visible on the counter, you eat it. Phone next to the bed, you scroll into the early hours of the morning. Tasks unclear, you procrastinate. You aren't doing these things because you actively chose to fail. You're doing them because your current setup seamlessly led you right there. True discipline starts by stopping that endless cycle of asking, "What is wrong with me?" and replacing it with a much better, structural question. What system am I living inside? What in my setup is making failure so effortless? Doing an audit of your world means looking critically at your physical spaces, the digital distractions on your screens, and even the social inputs around you. Once you stop fighting yourself and judging your character, you can actually step back and intentionally redesign the structure that's silently running your life.
Okay, so how do we fix it? We follow 3 specific steps to eliminate unnecessary decisions entirely. Step 1, remove bad options. Create a ton of friction for the habits you want to break. Step 2, prepare good ones. Lay the groundwork so the right choice requires zero setup. And step 3, create defaults.
This one is incredibly powerful because it just obliterates decision fatigue. You shouldn't wake up asking, do I feel like doing this today? You need to wake up knowing this path is already decided. That is the exact moment true discipline takes over.
Now, this next point is an absolute game changer. You don't eliminate bad habits, you replace them. Trying to just stop a behavior without giving yourself an alternative is like blowing up a bridge but leaving no other way to cross the river. You can't just leave a void. If you try to use sheer willpower to abruptly stop reaching for your phone when you're stressed, that empty void creates severe anxiety. Your brain kind of panics, it craves that familiar dopamine hit, and it will inevitably drive you right back to the bad habit just to soothe itself. You have to build a new, healthier bridge to cross.
This is where the habit replacement matrix comes in. In moments of weakness, you're always going to fall to what's available. So you have to predetermine your alternatives, what is already prepared. Instead of scrolling in bed, what if you've already placed a physical book right on your pillow? Or instead of avoiding your actual work by checking emails, what if you've already opened a blank document and totally blocked your internet access? In those really vulnerable moments of fatigue, you don't magically rise up to your ideals. You fall to whatever is right in front of you. So make absolutely sure the good option is the easiest one to grab.
We've all been there, right? Why does going from zero to extreme overnight always break? People constantly fall into this trap of trying to fix the whole shebang all at once. I'm going to wake up at 5 a.m., eat flawlessly, and work out for 2 hours a day. And it feels amazing. For about 3 days. It's the exact reason gym drop-off rates in mid-February are astronomically high. The zero to extreme approach is fundamentally flawed because you're relying on a massive, totally unsustainable spike in intensity, instead of building a reliable daily architecture.
Look at this comparison here. If a system is too heavy, you simply won't carry it. A routine built entirely on intensity is like trying to carry a massive pile of bricks on your back. Eventually, it's going to crush you. It's just too demanding. But a routine built through careful consistency, that's like planting a seed. It's incredibly light at first, super easy to manage, and it grows naturally over time. Real discipline relies on sustainable consistency. You want a setup that you can easily carry day after day, year after year, without eventually snapping. There is a massive tension between what sounds impressive and what actually works. Your ego desperately wants the glory of a grueling 1-hour workout and total monastic focus, right? It wants to brag to people about how hard you're working. But the sustainable system, it just asks for 10 minutes. One controlled, simple action. A few minutes of real, undistracted work. Real progress always starts way smaller than your ego wants it to. It starts small, which protects you from breaking, but it's sustainable enough that you actually show up and do it again tomorrow. And when you do that, we move through this incredible sequence. Small wins, momentum, identity. Once you embrace those small actions, something fascinating happens psychologically. Those 10-minute workouts and tiny moments of focus start to stack up. You start accumulating a real track record of keeping the promises you make to yourself. This stacking of small wins creates an unstoppable momentum loop. The brain absolutely loves evidence, and every small win is proof that you are capable. Once that momentum builds, the behavior actually stops being a chore and transforms into your core identity. This is who I am. Identity is the finish line. It's where discipline actually becomes permanent. Think about it. There is a profound difference between saying, I am trying to write a book, and saying, I am a writer. One is an action you're trying to force, the other is a default state of being. You move away from asking what you should do today, and you cross over into simply knowing who you are. You execute, without negotiation, not because you woke up suddenly stronger than everyone else, but because your carefully designed environment has made this positive behavior totally inevitable. So freedom comes from not being controlled by what you don't want. Imagine the immense relief of no longer needing to white-knuckle your way through your goals. We have to stop trying to merely act like a disciplined person and instead build a life where discipline is the natural outcome of our structure. You really don't need another motivational video. You need better default choices. True freedom doesn't come from just doing whatever you want in the heat of the moment. Honestly, that usually just leads to regret. True freedom is not being controlled by the impulses and environments you don't even want.
Design. If real consistency isn't about brute force or emotional spikes or waiting around for motivation to magically strike, then the power has actually been in your hands this entire time. Once your environment is properly arranged, you stop fighting your own mind. You start moving forward every single day, not because you feel like it, but because your life is finally built that way. So, I want you to look around the room you're sitting in right now. Is your environment designed for your inevitable success or your inevitable failure?
The choice is entirely yours. Go redesign your world.